Welcome to our channel HD Rare Coin 111, your go-to spot for uncovering the incredible world of rare US coins. If you've ever wondered if your old pennies, nickels, or dimes are worth more than face value, you're about to find out. In today's video, we'll be exploring some truly rare coins and their shocking values. And if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. So let's jump in. Top 1. Today, we're diving into one of the most fascinating stories in American coin collecting. Grab your magnifying glass and hold on tight, because you might just be carrying a tiny treasure in your pocket without even realizing it. Now, when you think about the United States, a few symbols probably come to mind. The stars and stripes, the Statue of Liberty, and yes, even our humble coins. But there's one coin in particular, one tiny copper-colored piece of history, that's been quietly circulating for decades, and it might be worth more than you ever imagined. We're talking about the Lincoln 1-cent penny from the year 1966. At first glance, this penny might not look like anything special. Just your ordinary 1-cent coin, right? It's small. It's light. It's brownish red. You've probably had dozens of them pass through your hands. But what if I told you that one of these seemingly ordinary coins is actually a rare gem hiding in plain sight? Let's rewind for a moment. The Lincoln penny was first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln. It was a groundbreaking design, the first U.S. coin to feature a real person's face. Since then, it's become one of the most iconic coins in American history. But in 1966, something curious happened. That year, the United States Mint was facing challenges. The nation was shifting away from using silver in its coins, and demand for change was high. The Mint was trying to keep up with production while testing new materials and dyes. And sometimes, in the rush to mint millions of coins, errors slipped through the cracks. Enter the 1966 Lincoln penny. Most of these pennies were minted in Philadelphia. They were made of copper with a touch of zinc, as usual. But here's where it gets interesting. Some 1966 pennies were struck using unusual dyes, or under irregular conditions, creating what collectors call error coins. And when it comes to coin collecting, error coins are the ultimate prize. Some of these 1966 pennies have doubling in the text or date, what experts call double die. Others might have a striking misalignment, or be missing design elements entirely. A few even show off rare minting quirks that only happen once in a million strikes. These tiny flaws, invisible to most of us, turn a simple coin into something extraordinary. So why does that matter? Because coin collectors around the world are always on the hunt for rare varieties, especially from transitional years like the mid-60s. And if you're lucky enough to find a 1966 Lincoln penny with one of these rare characteristics, you could be sitting on a fortune. That's right. It's not just about age. It's about rarity, condition, and unique minting errors. There's also the question of what condition your coin is in. Coins are graded on a scale from poor to mint state, with MS 65 and above being near perfect. If you happen to have a 1966 penny in pristine, untouched condition, especially one with an error, well, that's when things get really exciting. Imagine this. You pull out a penny that's been sitting in a jar for years, or tucked away in an old drawer. It looks just like the rest. But then you look closer. Something's off. The date looks doubled. The text is ever so slightly distorted. You take it to a coin dealer or send it off for grading, and the results come back. You're holding a once-in-a-lifetime piece. So what's the magic number? How much could a 1966 Lincoln penny really be worth? Are you ready for this? One of these rare 1966 Lincoln 1-cent coins, in exceptional condition and with the right error features, was once sold for a jaw-dropping $145,000. Yes, you heard that right. A single penny. Just one. So before you toss your spare change into the nearest vending machine, take a second look. That coin you thought was worthless? It might just be your golden ticket. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more stories of hidden treasures and surprising riches. Until next time, keep checking those coins, because you never know what secrets they might be hiding. Top 2. Imagine holding history in the palm of your hand, something so small, so ordinary looking, that almost no one gives it a second glance. It's passed through the hands of millions. Dropped in pockets, left in tip jars, forgotten in couch cushions. But what if I told you that one of these tiny coins, one of these everyday objects, might be worth more than a luxury car, more than a college tuition, maybe even more than your house? Today, we're talking about the legendary Lincoln 1-cent penny from the year 1971, a small piece of copper that could quietly be hiding in plain sight, waiting to be discovered. Now let's take a moment to think about 1971. The world was changing. Nixon was president. Intel had just released the very first microprocessor. Walt Disney World opened its gates for the first time. And in the middle of it all, the US Mint was doing its job, producing billions of coins to fuel the economy of a growing nation. Among them, the humble penny. But this isn't just any penny. The Lincoln cent has a legacy stretching all the way back to 1909. That's when Abraham Lincoln's face first appeared on US currency, marking the first time a real historical figure graced a US coin. It was bold. It was different. And it started a tradition that continues to this day. Fast forward to 1971. The Lincoln penny still had that classic design, a proud profile of Abraham Lincoln on the front, and the Lincoln Memorial standing tall on the back. It was made mostly of copper, with a touch of zinc. And in that single year alone, over 5 billion Lincoln pennies were minted. That's right, billions. So how could one of those be worth a fortune? Here's where things get interesting. When coins are produced in such massive numbers, perfection is impossible. The machinery, no matter how advanced, sometimes makes mistakes. And that's where the magic lies for collectors. Because out of those billions of 1971 Lincoln cents, a few were struck with rare errors. Some had doubling on the words, "In God We Trust," or the word, "Liberty." Others were slightly off-center. A handful may have been struck on the wrong type of metal planchet altogether. These aren't flaws, they're rare anomalies. And they are what coin collectors across the globe dream of finding. These errors make the coin unique. A printing mistake in the world of currency can be the equivalent of a rare autograph in the world of art. It's not just a minting mistake, it's a story, a mystery, a moment frozen in time that slipped through the cracks. And then there's condition. Coin grading is a meticulous process. Coins are ranked on a 70-point scale, with a grade of MS65 or higher considered mint state, meaning the coin is essentially flawless. If a 1971 penny has one of these rare errors and is found in pristine, untouched condition, then you're no longer looking at a penny. You're looking at a collector's dream. People often ask, what are the chances of finding one? Well, the odds aren't easy, but they're not impossible either. And that's what keeps the hunt alive. Every coin jar, every dusty drawer, every inherited collection from a grandparent might be hiding a surprise. You never know until you look, and while we're at it, there's another twist to the 1971 penny's tale. Most pennies from that year were minted in Philadelphia and Denver. But a few ultra-rare versions are rumored to have features that suggest experimental production methods, or slight deviations in the alloy content. Some collectors believe a small number of these coins were struck on leftover planchets from previous years. If you're lucky enough to come across one of those, well, you're in for a shock. And here's the best part, even if your 1971 penny looks just like the others, there could still be something unusual about it. You don't need to be a coin expert to start hunting. All you need is curiosity, a magnifying glass, and a little bit of patience. You'd be amazed what you can discover just by paying attention to the tiniest of details. This is what makes coin collecting so exciting. It's like treasure hunting, but the treasure is hiding in the most unexpected places, in your change, in an old piggy bank, or tucked away in your grandma's cookie jar full of pennies. It could be right under your nose. So what's the payoff? What's the big reveal? A rare 1971 Lincoln penny, with the right error and in flawless condition, was once appraised and sold for a breathtaking amount of money. Not because it was made of gold or silver, but because of what it represented: history, rarity, perfection, and a story that few others can tell. And now, the moment you've been waiting for, one of these tiny, copper-colored coins. One humble 1971 Lincoln 1-cent penny was sold for an astonishing $125,000. Yes, that's the value of a single penny. If it's the right one. So the next time you see a penny on the ground, don't just walk past it. Pick it up. Look at it closely. Because that little coin in your hand might be worth far more than just 1 cent. It could be your lucky ticket to a 6-figure surprise. Thanks for watching. If you found this video interesting, make sure to like, comment, and share it with someone who loves hidden treasures. And don't forget to subscribe, because you never know which coin we'll uncover next. Stay curious, and keep checking your change. Top 3. Have you ever tossed a penny into a fountain and made a wish? Maybe you flicked one into a tip jar, or let it sit forgotten at the bottom of your backpack or between the couch cushions. Pennies are everywhere, and we hardly notice them. But what if I told you that one single penny, one tiny coin from 1974, could turn your pocket change into a small fortune? Yes, we're talking about the 1974 Lincoln 1-cent penny. And trust me, this isn't just a piece of copper. It's a doorway into American history, a collector's treasure, and possibly a 6-figure secret hiding in plain sight. Let's set the stage. The year is 1974. The United States is in a moment of transition. The Vietnam War is winding down, President Nixon is deep in the Watergate scandal, and gas prices are beginning to climb. The economy is feeling pressure, and inflation is knocking at the nation's door. Every penny counts, literally. And that brings us to the Lincoln cent. By 1974, the Lincoln penny had already been in circulation for 65 years. Originally introduced in 1909 to honor President Abraham Lincoln's 100th birthday, it was the first American coin to feature a real historical figure. For decades, it had been struck from 95% copper, giving it that familiar reddish-brown hue we all recognize. But copper was getting expensive. That year, the U.S. Mint began experimenting. They tested different materials, looking for cheaper alternatives that could replace the traditional copper composition. Some test coins were made with aluminum. Others were created using experimental alloys. These coins weren't meant for the public, but some managed to escape into circulation. Now, most 1974 pennies you'll come across look pretty ordinary. Same familiar design, Lincoln on the front, the Lincoln Memorial on the back. They were minted by the billions. Over 4 billion from Philadelphia. Over 4 billion from Denver. And a few hundred million more from San Francisco. But here's the thing, out of all those coins, a few are not like the others. Some 1974 Lincoln pennies have minting errors. Some were struck on aluminum planchets. Some have doubling in the inscriptions. Some have unusual luster or color. And some were simply struck in such perfect, uncirculated condition that they'd become legendary among collectors. The smallest mistake during the minting process, an off-center strike, a misaligned die, or even an incorrect planchet, can turn a simple coin into a collector's jackpot. Error coins are like hidden gems in the world of numismatics, and 1974 produced more than its fair share of them. But it's not just about errors. It's also about condition. If a 1974 Lincoln penny was somehow preserved in nearly perfect shape, never scratched, never dropped, never circulated, then its value skyrockets. Coin grading experts use a 70-point scale, and anything above 65 is considered mint state. If your coin is a 67, 68, or higher, now we're talking about something incredibly rare. Imagine finding a penny so perfect that it looks like it was minted yesterday. Now add an unusual metal composition or a rare mint error, and suddenly, that tiny coin becomes one of the most sought-after Lincoln cents in existence. Some of the rarest 1974 Lincoln pennies were never meant to survive. They were experimental. Many were supposed to be destroyed. But a few, somehow, slipped through the cracks. They were spent, pocketed, forgotten, and possibly still out there, waiting to be found. So here's a question. When was the last time you really looked at a penny, not just glanced at it? I mean really looked. Checked the year. Examined the details. Looked at the color, the condition, the mint mark. You might be walking around with a small fortune jingling in your pocket. That's what makes this so exciting. This isn't treasure buried in a desert or locked away in a vault. This is everyday treasure, hiding in plain sight. And anyone can find it. Collectors around the world are constantly on the lookout for 1974 Lincoln cents with rare features, especially ones made of aluminum, struck in error, or preserved in flawless condition. Auctions have seen fierce bidding wars over coins that most people wouldn't think twice about. But those who know, they know just how valuable this little piece of copper can be. And now, the part you've been waiting for. How much could one of these pennies actually be worth? Hold on to your seat. Because one incredibly rare 1974 Lincoln 1-cent penny, flawless, unique, and preserved like a time capsule, was once valued and sold for a jaw-dropping $112,000. Yes, that's the price of a single penny, if it's the right one. So next time you see a penny lying on the ground, don't just walk by. Pick it up. Look closely. It might be dirty. It might look ordinary. But it could be a piece of forgotten history, one worth more than you ever imagined. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, give it a like, share it with your friends, and hit that subscribe button so you never miss another coin collecting mystery. Because the next great find might be in your pocket right now. Keep hunting. Keep learning. And remember, every coin has a story. Top 4. Have you ever looked at a penny and thought, it's just 1 cent, it's not worth anything? Most of us do. We toss them in a jar, drop them on the ground without picking them up, or leave them rattling around at the bottom of our pockets. But what if I told you that one of these tiny, copper-colored coins, specifically a 1974 Lincoln penny, could be worth a fortune? Yes, one single penny from 1974 could change your life. Let's take a step back in time for a moment. The year is 1974. The United States is going through big changes. Gas prices are rising, inflation is high, and the economy is struggling. Everything costs more, including copper, the main metal used to make pennies. Because of this, the U.S. Mint started experimenting with different materials to find a cheaper alternative. They needed to find a new way to make pennies that didn't cost more than they were worth. During this time, the Mint made a number of test pennies using aluminum instead of copper. These test coins, called experimental planchets, were never meant to enter circulation. They were made in very limited numbers and were supposed to be returned and destroyed. But as with many rare items in history, a few of them somehow managed to escape into the public. And today, they are among the rarest coins in the world. Now, most 1974 pennies you see will look completely normal. They have Abraham Lincoln's profile on the front, just like every other Lincoln cent, and the Lincoln Memorial on the back. They might have a small D or S mint mark under the date, showing where they were made, Denver or San Francisco. Others have no mint mark, meaning they were made in Philadelphia. These coins were produced in the billions. That's right, billions with a B. So how could one be worth a huge amount of money? It all comes down to a few very special factors. First, error coins. Mistakes happen at the mint, and when they do, those coins can become extremely valuable. A 1974 penny might have been struck off-center, double-stamped, or printed using the wrong material. These mint errors make the coin rare and interesting to collectors. And the rarer the coin, the higher the value. Second, the condition of the coin matters a lot. Coin collectors use a special grading scale that goes from 1 to 70. A coin that is scratched, dirty, or worn out might be worth only face value. But a coin that has never been circulated, is shiny, sharp, and in mint condition can be worth hundreds, or even thousands, of dollars. A 1974 penny in nearly perfect condition, especially if it has a rare error, becomes extremely desirable to coin collectors. Now let's go back to the aluminum pennies. These test coins are extremely rare. So rare, in fact, that many people have never even seen one in person. They are lighter than regular pennies, and if you drop them, they sound different. Some were handed out to members of Congress in 1974, but almost all of them were ordered to be returned and destroyed. Only a few have ever been found, and when they surface, they become the center of attention in the numismatic world. Even regular 1974 pennies that don't have aluminum or visible errors can still be worth a surprising amount, if they are in exceptional condition. Some have sold for thousands of dollars simply because they were perfectly preserved. But it's those rare combinations, the error coins, the aluminum planchets, and the mint state grades, that push the value into truly unbelievable territory. So, what does all this mean for you? It means that there could be a tiny treasure hiding in your home right now. In that jar of change. In a drawer. In an old coin collection passed down from a grandparent. A coin you've seen 1,000 times before might actually be worth more than you ever imagined. Now here comes the part you've been waiting for. Are you ready? Because one of these rare 1974 Lincoln 1-cent pennies, with the right error and in the right condition, was once sold for an incredible amount of money. Not thousands. Not tens of thousands. It was sold for a jaw-dropping $112,000. That's right. A single penny, worth just 1 cent when it was made, now valued at over $100,000. So the next time you come across a penny, don't ignore it. Look at the year. Check the condition. Pay attention to the details. Because what looks like just another coin might be a once-in-a-lifetime discovery hiding in plain sight. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing stories about valuable coins, hidden treasures, and surprising finds that could be right under your nose. Until next time, keep your eyes open and your change close, because you never know what it might be worth. Top 5. Most of us walk past pennies every day without a second thought. We toss them into jars, drop them in vending machines, or even ignore them when we see one lying on the ground. After all, what can 1 cent really do? But believe it or not, that small copper coin in your pocket might be worth far more than 1 cent. In fact, one particular Lincoln penny from the year 1976 could be hiding a secret so valuable, it might just blow your mind. Let's travel back to 1976, a year of celebration in the United States. America was turning 200 years old. The entire nation was buzzing with excitement as people celebrated the bicentennial. Flags were flying, parades were marching, and commemorative items were everywhere. Quarters and half dollars were specially redesigned to honor the occasion. But the humble penny? It kept its usual design, Abraham Lincoln's iconic profile on the front and the Lincoln Memorial on the back. No fireworks, no eagles, no 1776 to 1976 markings. It looked the same as it had for years. But sometimes, the most ordinary things hide the biggest surprises. The 1976 Lincoln 1-cent penny was minted in huge numbers, billions, to be exact. They were struck in Philadelphia and Denver, and you'll find many of them still floating around today. At a glance, it looks like just another copper coin. But for collectors, there's more to this story. Not all 1976 pennies were created equal. Some have very rare features that make them incredibly valuable. These include striking errors, unusual planchets, off-center designs, and doubled dies, tiny details that can turn a common penny into a rare and precious collector's item. The average person might not even notice them. But to a trained eye, these differences are like gold. One of the most sought-after errors in coins is the double die. This happens when the coin is stamped more than once with slightly shifted designs, creating a shadowed or doubled appearance on letters or numbers. A 1976 Lincoln penny with a strong double die, especially on the words, Liberty, or In God We Trust, is highly prized. Another valuable feature is an off-center strike, where the design is noticeably pushed to one side. These kinds of errors usually happen during fast-paced mass production, and when they do, only a few coins end up with those rare characteristics. Then there's the matter of metal. While most 1976 pennies were made of 95% copper and 5% zinc, sometimes mistakes were made. There are stories of a few pennies from that era being struck on the wrong type of metal planchet, leftovers from other coin types or testing periods. These oddities can change everything. A coin that looks ordinary at first glance might actually be made of a completely different alloy, making it a true rarity. Condition is another major factor in a coin's value. A heavily circulated penny, even with an error, might not fetch a huge price. But a coin in what collectors call mint state condition, meaning it's uncirculated, with no scratches, stains, or damage, can be incredibly valuable. These coins look as if they were made yesterday, even though they're decades old. They've been perfectly preserved, often stored in protective cases, untouched by time or human hands. So imagine combining all these factors: a rare error, a unique metal composition, and pristine condition. That's the perfect storm for coin collectors. That's when a simple coin transforms into a rare treasure. Now here's the best part. This kind of coin might be closer than you think. You don't have to be a professional collector to find one. You don't have to dig through treasure chests or fly to auctions. Sometimes, all it takes is checking your change. Looking carefully at the coins in your drawer, your wallet, or your piggy bank. Paying attention to those small details most people ignore. The date, the color, the shape, the shine. Because what looks like just another penny could actually be something truly special. People around the country have found rare and valuable coins in the most unexpected places. In old jars, inherited collections, even in coins they received in change at a grocery store. It happens more often than you think. And the 1976 Lincoln penny is one of those coins that might just be sitting right under your nose. So, how much could one of these rare 1976 Lincoln pennies actually be worth? Now it's time to reveal the number you've been waiting for. One very special 1976 Lincoln 1-cent penny, struck with a rare error and preserved in near-perfect condition, was once sold for an unbelievable amount. This wasn't just a few $100s. Not a few thousand either. It was sold for an astonishing $109,000. That's right. One tiny penny. A coin you could have in your own pocket. Worth more than some people's yearly salary. So next time you find a penny on the ground, don't walk away. Take a moment. Flip it over. Look at the year. Check for any unusual features. Because you never know when you might be holding a hidden fortune in your hand. Thanks for watching. If you found this video interesting, make sure to like it, share it with someone who collects coins or loves history, and don't forget to subscribe for more amazing stories about the treasures hiding in plain sight. Until next time, keep your eyes open, because even the smallest coin can have the biggest story. Top 6. What if I told you that a single penny, just one small copper coin from the year 1980, could be worth more than a luxury car, more than a down payment on a house, or even more than your yearly income? Sounds impossible, right? After all, it's just a penny. We see them every day. We find them on the floor, toss them into jars, and rarely stop to think about their worth. But buried in all that loose change are a few rare coins that are far more valuable than they appear. And today, we're diving into the story of the 1980 Lincoln 1-cent penny, a coin that might be hiding in your very own pocket. Let's go back in time to 1980. The United States was entering a new decade, filled with technological progress and economic uncertainty. Ronald Reagan was about to take office, inflation was rising, and the nation was adjusting to a changing world. In the middle of all this, the U.S. Mint was doing its usual job, producing billions of coins to keep the economy moving. Among those coins was the familiar Lincoln 1-cent penny, small, copper-colored, and largely ignored by most people. But not all pennies are created equal. The 1980 Lincoln penny features the classic design we all recognize: President Abraham Lincoln's profile on the front and the Lincoln Memorial on the back. This design had been in use since 1959, and millions of pennies were struck at various U.S. mints including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Most of these coins look identical. But every so often, something unusual happens during the minting process. Something small, unnoticeable to the average eye, but massively important to collectors. One of the most common ways a penny becomes valuable is through mint errors. These errors occur during the coin's production and can include things like off-center strikes, double dies, die cracks, or even being struck on the wrong type of metal. These aren't damage caused after the coin left the mint. They're mistakes made during the creation of the coin itself, which means they're extremely rare and highly collectible. Now here's where it gets exciting. Some 1980 pennies were struck with doubling, a condition known as a doubled die, where the design appears to be stamped twice. When this happens, letters like "Liberty, in God We Trust," or even the date itself may appear slightly blurry or shadowed. This isn't your eyes playing tricks. It's an actual minting mistake that makes the coin stand out from the billions of others. Other rare errors include pennies struck on planchets meant for dimes or foreign coins, which result in lighter weight, thinner size, or completely unexpected appearances. But rarity isn't the only thing that matters. Condition plays a huge role too. Coins are graded based on a 70-point scale, where higher numbers indicate a better preserved coin. A penny in grade MS65 or above is considered in mint state, a condition where the coin looks almost brand new. Combine that with a rare error, and now you've got a coin that collectors will fight over. The shinier, cleaner, and more untouched the coin is, the more value it can bring. There's also a growing interest in coins from the 1980s. As more people begin collecting coins from their childhood or birth year, pennies from the early part of the decade are gaining more attention. People who grew up in the 80s are now adults, and many of them are looking back at the coins they once used without thinking. This emotional connection, along with rising demand, has helped drive the value of certain 1980 coins even higher. And the best part? These rare 1980 Lincoln pennies weren't locked away in some secret vault. Many of them were accidentally released into circulation. That means they ended up in pockets, cash registers, jars of spare change, or even stuck between the seats of cars. You could be holding one right now without even realizing it. What should you look for? Start by checking the date. Make sure it says 1980. Then look closely at the lettering, especially the words, Liberty, and In God We Trust. If anything looks doubled, shadowed, or slightly off, you might have something special. Also, check the condition. Is it shiny? Does it have strong details? If it looks almost untouched, it could be in mint state. These small clues could be the difference between a regular penny and a valuable treasure. Every so often, a coin surfaces that breaks expectations. A penny that was once seen as ordinary suddenly sells at auction for a life-changing amount of money. It's a powerful reminder that hidden treasures are often the ones we overlook the most. Now comes the moment you've been waiting for. One of the rarest 1980 Lincoln 1-cent pennies, featuring a unique minting error and preserved in excellent condition, was once sold for a stunning sum. Not $10. Not $1,000. Not even $10,000. It was sold for an unbelievable $100,000. Yes, a single penny, 1 cent, sold for more money than most people make in an entire year. So the next time you see a penny, don't walk past it. Don't toss it in a drawer without a second glance. Look at it. Study it. Because hidden in that small piece of metal could be a piece of history, and maybe, just maybe, a life-changing fortune. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more about rare coins, hidden treasures, and valuable finds that could be sitting in your own home, make sure to like this video, share it with your friends, and hit that subscribe button. You never know what we'll uncover next. Until then, keep your eyes open and your change close. Because even a penny can be worth a whole lot more than you think. Top 7. Most people don't think twice about a penny. It's the smallest coin in your pocket, easy to overlook, and often tossed aside like it doesn't matter. You've probably walked past dozens of them lying on the sidewalk or sitting at the bottom of a drawer. But what if I told you that one of those tiny coins, specifically a Lincoln 1-cent penny from the year 1981, could be worth tens of thousands of dollars? That's right, a coin that's often ignored could actually be worth a fortune. Let's take a trip back to 1981. Ronald Reagan had just been elected president. The economy was facing high inflation and interest rates. MTV was just about to change pop culture forever. It was a time of transition and change in America. And during all of that, the U.S. Mint continued producing coins, including billions of pennies. Among them was the 1981 Lincoln 1-cent penny, small, copper-colored, and seemingly ordinary. But some of these coins were far from normal. The 1981 Lincoln penny features the familiar image of President Abraham Lincoln on the front, a design that had been used since 1909. On the back is the Lincoln Memorial, which was introduced in 1959 and remained until the reverse was changed in 2009. These coins were struck at 3 different mints: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Most of them were made from a blend of 95% copper and 5% zinc. But what makes a 1981 penny go from pocket change to prized treasure? The answer lies in the details. You see, during the early 1980s, the cost of producing copper coins was rising quickly. The government knew changes were coming, and preparations for new materials and minting techniques were underway. While the full change to zinc-based pennies wouldn't happen until 1982, the year 1981 saw the last full production run of copper-based Lincoln cents. This already makes them interesting to collectors. But what really gets their attention are the rare errors and unusual varieties that appeared that year. One of the most famous and sought-after versions of the 1981 penny is the proof coin minted in San Francisco. But even rarer are coins that were struck using worn or mismatched dies, creating noticeable doubling in the lettering or numbers. These are known as double die errors, and when they happen, they can drastically increase a coin's value. Imagine seeing 2 clear outlines on a single word or number on your coin. That's a sign you might be holding something special. In some cases, coins from 1981 were struck slightly off-center, or on planchets, the blank pieces of metal used to make coins, meant for other coins. These are called planchet errors, and they're incredibly rare. Sometimes, a coin might even be missing part of its design because of a misfeed in the minting machine. These types of errors turn what looks like a normal coin into something incredibly valuable to collectors and historians. But rarity alone isn't enough. The condition of the coin matters just as much. Coins are graded using a 70-point scale, and anything above a 65 is considered mint state. This means the coin has never been in circulation and has no scratches, stains, or damage. A high-grade era coin from 1981 is the kind of find that makes collectors go wild. It's not just about having a rare penny, it's about having a rare penny in nearly perfect condition. Now let's talk numbers. The US Mint produced over 7 billion Lincoln pennies in 1981. That's a massive number. But only a tiny fraction of those have the unique combination of error, rarity, and perfect condition that can turn a 1-cent coin into something truly valuable. Think about how many people never look at the details of their pennies. That means rare coins can sit unnoticed for decades, in drawers, jars, piggy banks, and even in your wallet right now. If you want to check your own 1981 pennies, here's what to look for. Start with the mint mark. If there's an S under the date, it means it was minted in San Francisco, possibly as a proof coin. Look closely at the lettering and numbers for any signs of doubling or doubling shadows. Check the coin's surface for scratches or wear. And if the coin looks shiny, bright, and untouched, you might be holding something incredible. There's something exciting about knowing that something so small and common could be secretly valuable. It's like hidden treasure right in front of you. And best of all, anyone can find it. You don't need to be a professional coin dealer or a millionaire. All you need is curiosity, a sharp eye, and maybe a magnifying glass. It's the thrill of the hunt, and it's why coin collecting remains such a popular and rewarding hobby. So, how much could one of these special 1981 Lincoln 1-cent pennies really be worth? Here it is, the number you've been waiting for. One particular 1981 Lincoln penny, with a rare minting error and in near-perfect condition, was once sold to a serious collector for a shocking price. Not just a few $100s. Not a few thousand. It sold for an unbelievable $97,000. Yes, 1 penny. Worth $97,000. So the next time you come across a penny, take a closer look. Because what seems like spare change could actually be life-changing. That little copper coin in your hand might be one of the rarest and most valuable coins ever made. All it takes is a moment of attention, and a bit of luck. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Share it with your friends or anyone who loves rare coins and fascinating history. And remember, treasures can come in the smallest, quietest forms, even something as simple as a penny.